What if I told you the most dangerous parts of you are the ones you've never told anyone, not the mistakes you confessed, not the flaws you've admitted, but the truths so personal, so sacred, so misunderstood, you buried them before they could ever be judged. Let me ask you this: have you ever kept something hidden not because it was wrong, but because you knew the world wasn't ready to understand it? Maybe it was a dream too ambitious, a fear too raw, a desire too deep, or a version of yourself that didn't quite fit the mold others built for you. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. And you are what you hide, not just what you reveal." Let that sink in, because we often think secrets are just lies with better manners. But Jung believed otherwise. He believed secrets shape us sometimes more than the things we openly share. In this video, we're diving deep into what Jung called the shadow, the part of your psyche that stores what the ego cannot accept. It's where your unspoken truths live, and the longer they stay hidden, the more they begin to direct your life without your permission. But here's the twist. The power of secrets isn't just dark, it's transformative if you know how to face it. We'll explore 7 shocking truths about how keeping secrets affects your identity, your energy, and your entire life path. We'll look at how repression distorts self-image, how unspoken truths fuel anxiety, and how owning your shadow can become the most powerful step in personal healing. This isn't about confession, it's about awareness. This is not a self-help checklist. This is Jungian psychology, raw, honest, and meant to awaken the part of you that's been asleep for far too long. So stay with me, because the things you've been hiding might be the exact key to who you're meant to become. Let's begin with a truth that might sound uncomfortable. The reason secrets feel so heavy is because they live in a part of you that's been exiled, a place Jung called the shadow. Now, when people hear the word shadow, they often think of darkness, evil, or trauma. But that's a narrow view. Jung's shadow self isn't just about your sins. It's about everything you've repressed, rejected, or refused to acknowledge because the world told you it wasn't acceptable. Your ambition, your anger, your sensuality, your rage, even your brilliance, all of these, if discouraged or punished early in life, by parents, culture, religion, get pushed into the unconscious. And over time, they become secrets not just from others, but from yourself. Jung wrote, "The less the shadow is embodied in an individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." In other words, the more you ignore your shadow, the more power it gains over you. It doesn't disappear, it waits. It shows up when you're triggered, when you're vulnerable, when you're sabotaging yourself and don't know why. That's the paradox of secrets. They give you the illusion of control while making you internally divided. You smile when you want to scream. You help others while neglecting yourself. You say "I'm fine" while drowning inside. All because there's a war happening, not in your outer world, but in your inner world. Let's take a step back. Psychologically, why do we hide parts of ourselves in the first place? From a young age, the human brain is wired to seek acceptance. Belonging means safety, and safety biologically means survival. So when you were punished for crying, you learned to suppress your sadness. When you were mocked for your dreams, you buried your ambition. When you were told that's not how boys act or that's not ladylike, you erased parts of your true personality just to fit in. These become what Jung calls split-off selves, not gone, just silenced. and the silence becomes your secret. Here's where it gets more intense. The more you repress, the more you leak. Yes, you heard that right. You leak your secrets, not through words, but through patterns, addiction, perfectionism, people-pleasing, avoidance, anger. It's all shadow behavior, your secrets trying to speak through your habits, because the psyche wants wholeness, and it will keep calling out until you listen. Let me give you a real-world example. Take someone who's always the strong one, never shows emotion, always composed, but maybe that person once cried in front of a parent and was told, "Stop being weak, toughen up." So they buried that part, the soft, sensitive side. Years later, they keep secrets like I cry alone at night. I feel empty despite my success. I wish someone would ask me how I'm really doing. But they don't tell anyone. Why? Because the world only knows their mask. And behind that mask is the shadow they fear people will reject. But here's the thing, what we repress in the dark only gains more power. And Jung's work teaches us that until we bring that into the light, we remain prisoners of our own hidden truths. So what does this mean for you? It means your secrets are not just secrets. They are psychological messages, clues to your unhealed parts, and opportunities for transformation. But you don't have to confess them to the world. You just have to stop hiding them from yourself. That's the beginning of integration. And integration, according to Jung, is how you become whole. So ask yourself, what have I buried? Not because it's wrong, but because it wasn't allowed to exist. The moment you name that, you've taken the first step toward freedom. We've all heard the phrase, keeping secrets eats you alive. But most people think that's just a metaphor. It's not. According to the American Psychological Association, the act of hiding emotionally significant information activates a chronic state of stress. Your body may appear calm on the outside, but inside your nervous system is constantly bracing for impact. This is where things get dangerous, because your body can't tell the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. So whether you're hiding an affair, a trauma, a financial mistake, or simply your true identity, your body reacts as if you're under attack. You may notice it in subtle ways at first: difficulty sleeping, muscle tension, headaches, digestive problems, constant fatigue without a clear reason. These are called psychosomatic symptoms, where the mind's burden shows up in the body. And the heavier the secret, the heavier the cost. Carl Jung warned that when we keep a part of ourselves hidden, we split. We begin living two lives. There's the outer life. The version of you people see, the carefully curated persona, the everything's fine mask. And then there's the inner life, the part that aches, that wants to scream the truth, but is terrified of what will happen if it ever escapes your lips. This internal split leads to what psychologists call incongruence, when your outer behavior doesn't match your inner truth. And that incongruence is exhausting. Have you ever walked into a room and smiled when every part of you wanted to cry, or held back from speaking up because your truth might make others uncomfortable? That's the cost of secrecy. It isolates you. It makes you feel as though you're never fully seen, because how could you be if part of you is locked away over time? This psychological split can distort your sense of identity. You might start questioning who you really are. Am I the version of me I present to others, or the version I try to hide? This confusion weakens your core. It makes decisions harder. It lowers your self-trust, and it keeps you trapped in self-doubt, even if everything on the outside looks successful. In fact, some of the most high-functioning people The ones who seem the most composed, driven, put together, are often carrying the heaviest secrets. They've built empires, while simultaneously hiding shame, addiction, regret, or grief. And here's the paradox. Because they appear strong, no one ever checks in on them, so they spiral in silence. Let me give you a real example without names. There was a successful tech entrepreneur in his 40s. Publicly, he was the image of success, multi-million-dollar exits, keynote speaker, family man. Privately, he carried a secret. He had been sexually abused as a child. He never told anyone, not even his wife. He believed that real men don't talk about these things. He buried it, pushed forward, smiled through it. But the truth was leaking. He overworked, drank too much, avoided emotional intimacy. He began to sabotage deals, push people away, doubt himself. And finally, during a quiet moment on a long flight, he broke down in tears alone, because the pain of hiding had become louder than the fear of speaking. That's the hidden cost, not the secret itself, but the energy it takes to suppress it. Day after day, year after year, Jung would say that this man's pain was part of his individuation journey, the process of becoming whole by integrating your shadow. But integration only begins when you stop lying to yourself, not necessarily confessing everything to the world, but telling the truth to yourself first. Because as long as the secret owns you, you'll never fully own your life. So what can you take from this? Not every truth needs to be shared publicly, but every truth needs a home inside you, where it's acknowledged, accepted, and integrated. That's the start of transformation. The question is, are you living one life or secretly surviving two? In the next section, we'll explore how suppressed secrets impact your relationships, often creating unconscious distance, distrust, and even manipulation. It's not just about what you hide from others. It's about what that hiding makes you become. So stick around, because the next truth might explain a pattern you've been stuck in for years. Not all secrets are born from shame. Some are born from healing. And when they are held in the right way, they don't weaken you, they strengthen you. There's a kind of power in the things you choose not to say, but not the kind that hides out of fear, the kind that stands in silence because it no longer needs validation. Carl Jung called this the path of individuation, the journey of becoming your whole self, not by sharing everything with everyone, but by integrating what once controlled you. Let me ask you, have you ever gone through something painful, maybe years ago, and today you don't talk about it? But not because you're avoiding it, because you've made peace with it. That silence, that stillness, is not suppression, it's sovereignty. Jung believed that secrets can be either a prison or a forge. It depends on how we carry them. When a secret is heavy with fear, guilt, or confusion, it controls you. It shapes your decisions, your self-perception, your relationships. But when a secret is held with awareness, boundaries, and acceptance, it transforms. It becomes a kind of sacred container, a part of your personal history that you don't owe to the world, because you've already integrated its lesson into your soul. Let me give you an example. There's a woman in her late 50s. She spent most of her early life in an abusive household. For decades, she never told anyone, not because she couldn't, but because she didn't have the language for it yet. Eventually, after years of therapy, inner work, and quiet strength, she came to terms with what happened. She forgave what she could. She released what she couldn't. And now she doesn't speak about it casually, not because she's hiding it, but because she knows her peace doesn't require public acknowledgement. She's no longer defined by her trauma. She's defined by the transformation that came after. That's self-mastery. And here's the powerful truth. Not all wisdom is meant to be broadcast. Sometimes what you withhold is more powerful than what you reveal. In a culture that encourages oversharing, radical transparency, and public vulnerability, there's something rebellious, almost sacred about protecting your inner world. It's not about being mysterious for attention. It's about knowing that your energy, your healing, your inner landscape are not for mass consumption. That's maturity. That's individuation. So how do you know if your secret is giving you power instead of draining it? Ask yourself, do I feel calm when I think of it or tense? Do I choose silence because it's mine to hold or because I fear judgment? Do I feel like I own it or that it still owns me? Because the goal is never to hide. The goal is to integrate, to choose when and how you share if you ever do. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And sometimes becoming who you are means letting some things live quietly inside you, not as wounds, but as roots. Not every truth must be told, but every truth must be faced. And once you've faced it once, it no longer rules your identity. You'll find something strange and beautiful. You've become unshakable. In the next part, we'll explore what happens when secrets don't just affect your inner world, but begin to shape your relationships, intimacy, and trust. Sometimes what you don't say creates just as much distance as what you do. Stay tuned. Some secrets aren't just stories you never told. They're the architecture of your identity, the silent forces shaping how you love, how you fear, and how you live. Carl Jung believed that anything we repress doesn't simply disappear. It goes underground. And from there, it influences everything, your choices, your patterns, even your destiny. In this section, we're going to explore 7 types of secrets. Not the dramatic movie-style ones, but the psychological blueprints, the hidden truths you carry that quietly sculpt your life from within. Childhood traumas. Let's start where most of our stories begin. Many people carry wounds from early life abuse, neglect, or simply not feeling safe to be themselves. And when those experiences go unspoken, the psyche does what it must. To survive, it represses. But as Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So what happens? You develop defense mechanisms. You flinch at closeness. You overachieve to prove you're worthy. Or you numb yourself emotionally or physically just to get through the day. The cost, your adult self ends up reacting to a world that no longer exists, but still feels just as dangerous. Secret ambitions. Now this one's subtle but powerful. Have you ever wanted something so badly that you couldn't bear to say it out loud? Maybe because it felt too big, too selfish, or too unrealistic. So what do? You hide it. You bury your dreams under responsibility or practicality. And sometimes that desire doesn't die, it distorts. It comes out as perfectionism, addiction to productivity, or chasing success in a direction that looks good on paper, but feels hollow inside. Secret ambitions, when unacknowledged, can turn into obsessions or burnout. But when you face them with honesty and purpose, they can guide you to your truest calling. Betrayals you've committed. We talk a lot about being betrayed. But what about when you were the one who crossed the line? Maybe you hurt someone. Maybe you cheated. Maybe you made a choice that still haunts you, and because you never said it out loud, never owned it. It became a silent punishment. You start self-sabotaging, pushing good people away, avoiding success because deep down, you don't believe you deserve it. But here's the truth. Secrets like these don't need exposure to the world. They need acknowledgement within you. Forgiveness begins when you stop hiding from the part of yourself that failed and choose to grow beyond it. Unspoken love or hatred. This one is almost universal. That person you never told you loved until it was too late. Or the one you resent quietly, because saying it would break everything. And so it simmers beneath the surface until it turns into emotional exhaustion, passive aggression, or quiet longing. Here's the danger. What you don't say, you act out. Whether through clinging, avoidance, manipulation, or withdrawal, your nervous system becomes the battleground for emotions you never gave words to. Not all secrets are prisons. Some are sacred sanctuaries, quiet places where your soul retreats to find safety, meaning, and strength. But the difference between a sanctuary and a cage is whether you're hiding out of fear or protecting something that matters. Carl Jung once said, "What you hide owns you. What you face sets you free." And that truth still echoes louder than ever, especially in a world that constantly demands exposure, explanation, and external validation. Maybe you've carried a secret for years, not because it's shameful, but because it's precious, because the world wouldn't understand it, because you weren't ready to face it yourself. But here's the thing. The purpose of this video isn't to tell you to confess everything. It's to help you understand what that silence is doing inside you. Because some secrets, when held unconsciously, start to rot. They create anxiety, identity confusion, even sabotage your relationships and goals. But other secrets, when honored consciously, can actually ground you. They give you clarity, purpose, inner authority. So here's the real question. Are your secrets protecting your peace or avoiding your pain? Are they rooted in healing or in fear? Take a moment, really ask yourself, what is one secret you've been hiding, not from the world, but from yourself? Sometimes the most painful truths are the ones we refuse to acknowledge, not out of malice, but out of survival. But healing begins the moment we stop running from ourselves. It begins when we sit with the uncomfortable and ask what it's trying to teach us. So if this message stirred something in you, a memory, a feeling, a truth you've been afraid to explore, that's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of awakening. It means your unconscious is knocking. And maybe, just maybe, you're ready to answer. If you're on this journey to understand your inner world, to dive deeper into the psychology of the soul, subscribe to this channel, because we explore not just how to survive life, but how to live it with clarity, depth, and courage. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What truth are you learning to protect? You don't have to share the full story. Just a word, a symbol, a reflection. Let this be a safe space for self-honesty, because healing doesn't start with being loud. It starts with being real with yourself. Sometimes the healing doesn't come from confrontation, but from allowing yourself to admit, yes, I did love them. Or, yes, I still carry that wound. And then you give yourself permission to feel it and release it. Shame around identity. Many people hide who they really are not because they're dishonest, but because somewhere along the line they were told that being themselves wasn't safe. This can show up in countless ways. Your sexuality, your religious beliefs, your neurodivergence, your body, your passions. And over time, hiding who you are doesn't just protect you, it begins to erase you. You live a life that's acceptable, but not authentic, and authenticity, as Jung emphasized, is essential for individuation, because the soul cannot thrive behind a mask. The healing, find environments where your truth is met with curiosity, not judgment, and slowly allow yourself to be seen. Family secrets. Some secrets are older than you. They're passed down like furniture, but instead of chairs or photos, they carry guilt, silence, and confusion. Maybe your parents never told you about the sibling that died, or the real reason your grandfather disappeared, or why your mother always flinched when someone raised their voice. Family secrets don't just belong to the past. They echo into the present in patterns of fear, addiction, broken relationships, and inherited shame. Uncovering these truths isn't about blame. It's about liberation, because when you break the silence, you break the spell, and the future no longer has to repeat the past. Spiritual experiences. Have you ever had a mystical experience, a dream that felt like a message, a near-death moment, a sense of presence you couldn't explain? You probably kept it quiet, because society has little room for mystery, and anything that can't be measured gets labeled crazy. But Jung believed that these experiences are the language of the unconscious. They carry meaning, they guide transformation, and when you dismiss them just to fit in, you disconnect from your deepest intuition. Your spiritual life doesn't have to be public, but it must be honored. Final thoughts for this part. Every secret you carry either burdens you or builds you. The difference, awareness. When you bring the unconscious into consciousness, as Jung taught you, stop being a prisoner of your past and start becoming the author of your life. In the next part, we'll explore how to integrate these secrets so they no longer haunt you, but empower you. Because the goal is never to confess everything. It's to understand what your secrets are doing to you and reclaim your power from them.